Hi everyone, welcome to How to Interpret ROCE Part 4. So if you were watching my previous videos, you know how to interpret ROCE. All you need to know is that ratios and numerator are directly proportional. That means if numerator increases, ratio increases. And if numerator decreases, ratio decreases. It is as simple as that. And with respect to denominator, the denominator and ratio are inversely related. That means if denominator increases, ratio decrease. And if denominator decrease, ratio increase. So all you need to know what is numerator in an ROCE and what is denominator in an ROCE. Numerator in an ROCE is PBIT or operating profit, and denominator is nothing but capital employed. So let's take our discussion further. Let's discuss a few more past question papers so that you are so thorough on how to interpret ROCE. So quickly read this question or you can take a screenshot. December 2012 question. Straight away, I'm coming to this particular point. Now, what we are going to learn is that we are going to learn how to compare ROCE of an organization with sector average. In the past few videos, I have taught you how to compare, how to interpret ROCE when you're comparing a current year, when you're comparing current year with previous year, or when you're comparing a company, two companies, maybe for the purpose of acquisition. We have done that. If you have attended, if you have watched my first video on interpretation of financial statement, which is available in this channel, you will know that there are 5 types of questions that are normally asked. And one such question is that comparing with industry average. So let's learn how you have to interpret when you're comparing with industry average. So read the question. Now, before reading the question once again, if you see the quartile, ROC is 12.1 percentage and sector it is 16.8. That means quartile is performing the sector by some percentage. So write that percentage. So how will you write that percentage? 16.8 minus 12.1. It comes to around 4.7 divided by sector average 16.8. You will get a percentage, right? It is underperforming. Quartile is underperforming the sector average by this much of percentage. Now, ROCE of quartile is lower as compared to sector average. There can be two reasons. Reason number one, numerator has fallen. That is, operating profit has fallen. Or reason number two, you know that denominator and ratio are inversely related. So denominator has been increased. There was an increase in denominator. So the two reasons can be either operating margin has fallen or capital employed has increased. Now let's find out which of this is the reason. So if you see the gross profit margin, if you see the gross profit margin of quartile is 25% and that of sector average is 35%. So we can say one of the reason may be due to the lower profit margin. I'm not saying operating margin. They have stated that gross profit margin is lower. So if gross profit margin is lower, mostly operating margin will also be lower. So the one of the reasons why quartile's ROC is lower than sector average, it can be due to lower operating margin. Now let's see whether there is any reason which we can find out for capital employed. So when you compare with sector average, they will give only your companies, only the main company's financial statement. They won't give sector financial statement because it's not possible. So they will give the financial statements of quartile. So from this financial statement of quartile, just think whether there is any intimation that capital employed might be higher. Yes. Property and shop fitting, we don't know about that. Deferred development expenditure, accounting standard 38, there is an intangible asset. So it's a jewelry business. Quartile sells jewelry. So they do have some designs. They might have some design. They might have patented. Maybe the sector won't have their own design. So anyway, there's an intangible asset. There's a deferred development expenditure that has been capitalized. So maybe assets of quartile are higher due to this particular deferred development expenditure. And if assets are higher, capital employed will be higher. And in that case, ROCE will be lower. So we got that reason. When you come down, there is revaluation surplus. So another reason is that if there is a revaluation surplus, property values will be higher. The value of assets will be higher. And once again, when the value of asset is higher, capital employed will be higher. Thereby, ROC will be lower. We have discussed this in the last two parts. So if you have listened to watch my last two parts, it's a piece of cake. There is nothing. Or in other words, if there is a revaluation surplus, it will be shown under equity. If you're showing under equity, there's one more formula for capital employed, equity minus non-current, sorry, plus non-current liability. So if revaluation surplus increase, equity increase. If equity increase, capital employed increase. And if capital employed increase, ROC decrease. So that's all. We just did that. We just did that. So when we read the question very clearly, as I told you, it is underperforming, and underperformance is something, some percentage. Maybe one reason will be this low gross profit margin, and the other reason can be due to the higher capital employed of quartile due to property revaluation and deferred development expenditure. That's it. We have done that question. As simple as that. So that was my this video all about how you have to interpret ROCE on sector average. So as I always say that I'll be coming up with a few more videos on how to interpret ROCE. And now we have learned how to interpret ROCE when you're comparing with sector average. So right now, if you have watched my videos, you know how to interpret ROCE when you're comparing with another organization, when you're comparing with previous year, and when you're comparing with sector average. Now we have to learn how to interpret ROCE when there is acquisition of a company or a subsidiary that I will upload in my next video. So subscribe to this channel and turn that notification bar. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day and all the best for your upcoming ACCA financial reporting examination.